Elena Rivera stood frozen in front of the glass tower of Falcon Industries, her breath fogging up the early morning chill. Scarlett tugged at her coat, her small hand warm in hers. "Mommy, are you going to get the job today?" Scarlett asked, looking up with wide, hopeful eyes. "I have to, baby," Elena whispered, more to herself than her daughter. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun, concealing the fact she'd barely slept. The second-hand blazer didn't quite fit, and her heels, borrowed, pinched with every step. But she had come prepared for the toughest interview of her life. What she hadn't prepared for was her babysitter canceling at the last minute. She had no choice but to bring Scarlett, praying she could keep her distracted in the lobby long enough to survive the 30-minute interview. She knelt in front of her daughter. "You sit right here, okay? Color in your book. Don't talk to anyone. I'll be right back." Scarlett nodded solemnly and took her crayons from the bag. Elena straightened her spine, turned on her heels, and walked into the lion's den. The boardroom on the 48th floor felt more like a courtroom. Chrome, glass, a cold conference table large enough to seat kings. At the head sat him, Damien Thorne. He didn't look up when she entered. Sharp suit, darker eyes. Rumored to fire people for clearing their throat too loudly. The youngest CEO in the city, billionaire tech mogul, and utterly untouchable. Elena Rivera, the HR director, announced. "Interview for junior strategy analyst." She took the seat, clutching her portfolio like a shield. "Let's begin," someone said. She didn't remember who started it. Only the cold stares, the endless questions designed to poke holes in her resume. Why the employment gap? Why only part-time work last year? Why no LinkedIn endorsements? But Elena answered every question. Calm. Professional. Precise. Her voice never shook. Then slam. The door flew open. Heads turned. "Mommy." Scarlett ran across the boardroom before Elena could even stand. The silence was suffocating. Scarlett, bright-eyed, looked straight at the man at the head of the table. "Are you the boss?" Damien blinked. "Yes." Then she paused, climbing into her mother's lap and planting both tiny hands on the table. "Can you marry my mommy? So she doesn't cry at night anymore?" Gasps. A choked laugh. Someone dropped a pen. Elena's heart stopped. Her face flushed with a heat that burned straight through her chest. Scarlett, no. But it was too late. The words were out there, hanging like a storm cloud over the entire board. Damien's gaze finally lifted, locked on her. He didn't smirk, didn't laugh, just stared, emotionless, calculating. Elena stood up, hugging Scarlett tightly to her chest. "I am so sorry. This won't happen again. We'll leave." "Sit down," Damien said, voice cool as steel. Elena blinked. "Excuse me?" He looked at the HR director. "Clear the room. I'll take this one personally." There was hesitation. Murmurs. "But sir, I said clear the room." Chairs scraped. Staff filed out. Doors closed. Now it was just Elena, Damien, and a very confused little girl coloring frogs on a notepad. Elena stood, ready to bolt. "Sit," he repeated. She sat rigid, heart pounding. He leaned forward. "You've got 5 minutes. Impress me." Elena stared at him, stunned. "You're still considering me?" He said nothing. So she took a breath and did what she always did, fought. "I'm not here because I'm desperate," she began, meeting his gaze. "I'm here because I'm qualified. Because I've built 2 startups from my kitchen table that no one saw. Because I've worked graveyard shifts while learning analytics and taught my daughter how to count using spreadsheets." His brow twitched. "I didn't plan for her to crash the interview, but maybe she did what I couldn't, cut through the noise. I'm not your polished Ivy League clone. But I get people. I know systems. And I don't give up." A long silence stretched between them. Damien stood, walking toward the window. His back was to her. The sun cut through the glass, shadowing his expression. "What's her name?" he asked quietly. "Elena." "Not you. Her." "Scarlett." He turned. His eyes weren't cold now. They were unreadable. "You start Monday." She blinked. "I what?" Position upgraded to Senior Strategy Associate. Your daughter, he glanced at Scarlett, who was now humming and coloring, has a good eye for character. Elena couldn't speak. He walked past her, stopping just beside her shoulder. She's right, you know. You don't look like someone who deserves to cry at night. And then he left. The elevator doors closed with a sterile hiss behind Elena as she stood frozen, heart still hammering from the confrontation with Damien Thorn. She had the job. She had the job. But the moment felt more like an ambush than a victory. Scarlett, cradled in her arms, yawned softly and rested her head on Elena's shoulder. Elena kissed her daughter's hair, inhaling the familiar scent of baby shampoo and crayon wax. That moment grounded her, until a voice sliced through her daze. Is that how you plan to start your career here? Elena turned. A woman in a fitted pencil skirt and $1,000 heels stood by the front desk, arms crossed, her smile as sharp as broken glass. I'm sorry, Elena said, tightening her grip on Scarlett. You just humiliated half the executive board and got a promotion. The woman tilted her head. Either you're a genius or a very strategic single mother. Elena narrowed her eyes. I'm just someone who needed a shot. The woman's smile didn't falter. I'm Olivia Kane, Damien's business partner. She extended her hand like a weapon. Elena didn't shake it. Later that night, Elena sat cross-legged on her worn couch in their one-bedroom apartment, watching Scarlett sleep under a threadbare blanket. Her mind raced. Damien Thorn. Why had he chosen her? No one gave second chances like that in the real world, especially not billionaires who ran their boardrooms like war zones. She opened her laptop and typed his name. Search results exploded. Youngest self-made billionaire. Ruthless steelmaker. Cold genius. No known romantic ties, except one, Olivia Kane. Elena stared at Olivia's photo. Perfect hair, icy eyes. Business partner. Fiancé? She shut the laptop. She didn't want complications. She just wanted to survive. But survival, it seemed, had placed her in the path of a storm. Monday morning, Falcon Industries, floor 48. Elena entered the boardroom early, dressed in the same blazer, mended at the sleeve, her curls tied back neatly. Her resume felt like armor. She was ready, but no one was expecting her. The assistant blinked. Wait, you're the new senior analyst? Problem? Elena asked, squaring her shoulders. No, just unexpected. The assistant pointed to an empty desk next to Damien Thorn's glass office. Every eye in the room followed her as she walked to her seat. She felt them, judging, murmuring. She had barely sat down when the boardroom doors opened. Damien walked in. Everything went silent. He didn't acknowledge the room, didn't greet anyone. He walked straight past everyone and stopped at her desk. Elena. His voice was low, unreadable. She stood, trying not to fumble. Yes, sir? You'll be reporting directly to me on the metrics project. Follow me. He turned and disappeared into his office. Murmurs exploded the moment he closed the door. Are you serious?
She's not even Ivy.
She brings her kid to work and gets a corner desk? Elena inhaled slowly and stepped inside Damien's office. It was a cathedral of power, glass walls, black marble desk, and floor-to-ceiling screens showing stock tickers and project dashboards. Damien sat behind his desk like a man who ruled empires. I assume you're wondering why I hired you, he said, not looking up. Yes, she answered honestly. He glanced at her, fingers steepled. Because you spoke truth in a room full of liars. You didn't sell a persona. You stood up even when humiliated. That kind of raw honesty, it's rare. Elena's jaw tightened. It wasn't a tactic. It was survival. He nodded once. That's exactly why I trust you. She froze. Trust? Damien stood and walked to the window, arms behind his back. I built this company from dust. I've had people steal from me, betray me, leak trade secrets. I don't trust anyone who doesn't bleed. She swallowed hard. And you think I bleed? I think you've bled and stitched yourself up so many times, you forgot what healed even looks like. The words hit her like a punch. Before she could respond, the intercom buzzed. Mr. Thorne, Olivia Kane is here. His jaw twitched. Tell her I'm in a meeting. But the door opened anyway. Olivia strode in, flawless and composed, heels tapping like gunshots. Meeting with who? She asked, gaze landing on Elena.
Ah.
Her. Of course. Not now, Damien said coolly. Elena stood, shoulders tight. I can step out. No, Damien said sharply. Stay. The tension crackled like dry wood in a fire. Olivia's smile was venomous. Just wanted to see the newest recruit. She's got quite the reputation already. Damien didn't look at her. I said not now. Olivia's eyes flicked between them. Of course. But remember, Damien, not everyone in this building is as innocent as they seem. She walked out without another word. Elena turned to Damien. What was that? He didn't answer. Instead, he handed her a file. Memorize everything in here by tomorrow. The Metrics deal depends on it. Elena took it, heart pounding. Why am I really here, Mr. Thorne? She asked quietly. He looked at her then, something dangerous and unfinished in his eyes. Because Scarlett said something I've been afraid to admit for years. Her breath caught. What? That I don't want to be alone anymore. The Metrics file sat on Elena's desk like a ticking bomb. It was nearly midnight. The office floor was dark, except for two glowing offices across from each other. One was hers. The other, Damien Thorne's. And he hadn't left in hours. Elena rubbed her eyes, trying to make sense of a complex projection chart when the glass door clicked. Still here. Damien's deep voice echoed in the silence. She looked up, startled. He stood at her door, blazer off, shirt sleeves rolled to the elbows, top button undone. He looked less like a CEO and more like a man teetering on the edge of something reckless. I could ask you the same, she said, pushing her glasses up. He walked in slowly, no guards, no assistant, just him. I didn't expect you to survive day one, he admitted. The whispers, the sabotage. Olivia. Elena raised an eyebrow. So you knew she'd come after me. I expected it, he said. She doesn't like sharing power. She laughed under her breath. Good thing I'm not here for power. He leaned on her desk, voice softer now. Then what are you here for, Elena? She blinked. The question cut deep. Not just career deep, but soul deep. For a chance. Not to impress anyone. Just to build a life that doesn't keep breaking.
His jaw tightened.
What do you think I'm doing here every night? Elena looked at him. Really looked beneath the tailored suit, the sharp eyes, the billions. He wasn't just ambitious. He was tired. But before she could speak, a soft ding echoed. Scarlett's face appeared on her phone screen. Video call incoming. Elena panicked, fumbling to mute it. Damien's gaze flicked down. It's late. She should be asleep. She doesn't sleep unless I sing her something, Elena murmured. A beat passed. He reached over. Before she could stop him, he answered the call. Mr. Ice Cream Daddy. Scarlett giggled. Damien blinked. Excuse me? Elena nearly died. Scarlett. You're mommy's boss now. That means your family, right? He smiled faintly. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Can you tell mommy to come home now? She's working too much. And she forgot my bedtime song. Elena covered her face with her hands. Damien glanced at her, then back at the screen. Tell you what, if I get her home in 10 minutes, can I choose the song? Scarlett's eyes lit up. Deal. Call ended. Elena gawked at him. You didn't just. I did, he said, already grabbing his coat. Pack up. You're done for tonight. But He held the elevator open. That wasn't a request. Outside, Midnight Streets, NYC. Damien's private car glided through the streets, city lights painting gold across his face. Elena sat beside him, rigid, clutching her laptop bag like a lifeline. He broke the silence. Scarlett reminds me of someone I used to know. She glanced at him. Who? My sister, he said quietly. She died when she was 8. Car crash. Drunk driver. Elena's chest ached. I'm sorry. She was the only one who loved me before the world decided I was valuable. His voice was raw, almost bitter. No child should have to carry their mother's pain, he added. But Scarlett, she carries yours like it's armor. Elena turned her face to the window, blinking back tears. She saved me, you know, she whispered. After my ex walked out, pregnant and broke, I almost gave up. But Scarlett, she was born smiling, as if she already forgave me for everything I couldn't give her. Damien's hand twitched on the leather seat. You don't owe her an apology. You owe her the truth. What truth? That her mother is the bravest woman in the room. Elena's apartment, 1:03 a.m. Scarlett was curled up in bed, hugging her stuffed rabbit, when the door creaked open. She blinked. Mommy. Elena leaned down. Back in time, just like someone promised. Damien's voice came from behind her. I'm here for the song. Scarlett grinned and shuffled over. You can sit with me. And just like that, Damien Thorne, ruthless CEO, sat on a tiny pink beanbag, legs awkwardly folded. Elena stood, stunned. He cleared his throat. Twinkle, twinkle. Elena almost choked on her laugh. But Scarlett nodded. But you have to do the hand motions. He hesitated, then raised his hands.
They sang.
A grown billionaire and a single mom sang lullabies under a flickering nightlight shaped like a moon. When Scarlett drifted to sleep, Damien stood.
His voice was quieter now.
She's going to remember this. You know that, right? Elena nodded. So will I. He paused in the doorway. Then, without looking back, he said, Elena, you deserve more than survival. And then he was gone. The headlines hit like shrapnel. Cold CEO melts. Damien Thorne spotted singing lullabies to single mom's daughter in middle of the night. Page 6, exclusive. Elena stared at her cracked phone screen on the subway, heart slamming so hard it made her nauseous. The article had photos. Grainy, long-lens shots of Damien leaving her apartment building at 1:20 a.m., his head lowered, hand on the railing. One image showed him crouched on the pink beanbag, eyes closed mid-verse, Scarlett's tiny hand on his shoulder. Scarlett. Her baby girl.
Exposed. Used.
Elena gripped the seat pole until her knuckles turned white. How had this happened? Who was watching? And more terrifyingly, why now? Falcon Industries, floor 48. The moment she stepped off the elevator, the air changed. Whispers.
Eyes.
Silence that wasn't silence at all. She walked to her desk, jaw tight, spine straight. Then came the voice she dreaded. Good morning, Miss Rivera. Olivia Kane. She turned slowly. Olivia stood in 5-inch heels and a cream designer suit, clutching a steaming coffee cup with claws painted blood red. I must say, Olivia continued, voice sweet and sour, you're remarkably calm for someone who just became a national punchline. I'm not here for popularity, Elena replied, evenly. No. Olivia smirked. Then I suppose sleepovers with the CEO were just strategic networking?
Gasps.
Phones recording. The word sleepover ricocheted off the glass walls like a bullet. Elena felt her pulse spike, but she didn't flinch. Watch your words, Olivia, came a voice from the hallway. Damien. The crowd parted like water. He strode toward them, jaw tight, gray suit immaculate. Whatever beef you have with Elena, bring it to me, he said flatly. Not to my staff. Not to her daughter. Olivia's eyes narrowed. Oh, it's not beef, Damien. It's betrayal. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Because while you were busy playing house, I found this. She tossed it on the conference table. Elena's breath caught. Inside were printed emails.
Code.
Passwords. Transfer logs. It looked like data leaks. And her name, Elena Rivera, was all over them. What is this? She whispered. Olivia grinned. Evidence that your precious hire has been funneling confidential analytics to a competitor. The floor erupted in murmurs. Elena stepped back, stunned. That's a lie. I've never. Save it. Olivia turned to Damien. You wanted to trust her?
Fine.
Now see what that trust bought you. Damien stared at the folder, his expression unreadable, deadly quiet. Damien, Elena said, stepping closer. This isn't real. I've never even seen those reports. Then how did your login show up? Olivia snapped. Elena looked at Damien.
Begging. Please.
You know me. You saw me work. Still, he said nothing. Elena's stomach twisted. You said I bled and stitched myself back up. You said you trusted me. Damien didn't move. Security will investigate. Until then, you're suspended. Her world shattered. Suspended. In front of everyone. Labeled a traitor. You're firing me, she whispered. I'm protecting the company, he said coldly. But what about me? She asked, voice cracking. What about Scarlett? He looked away. The silence was her answer. She turned, heart pounding, vision blurry. Walked past the stairs, the whispers, the phones held high. Past the elevator. Past the front desk. And she didn't stop until she hit the street and screamed. Hours later, Elena's apartment. Scarlett sat on the couch, watching cartoons, while Elena sat on the floor, arms around her knees. She didn't cry.
She wanted to.
But all she could feel was the weight of betrayal. Damien had promised protection. He had sung to her daughter. And when it mattered, he stayed silent. Her phone buzzed. Damien. She stared at the name. Let it ring. Then a second buzz. A new number. Text only. I know the leak came from inside. But it wasn't you. I need you to trust me this time.
D.
She deleted the message without replying. Trust? Not anymore. The room was full of stars, but Elena felt utterly invisible. Falcon Industries' annual gala was a glittering spectacle held at the Glass House, a modern palace of mirrors and city lights. Executives floated through with champagne flutes, publicists preened, and cameras flashed like weapons. Tonight was meant to honor truth, innovation, and loyalty. The irony nearly made her laugh. She shouldn't have come. But Scarlett had found the footage. The proof. Elena clutched the tiny flash drive in her purse like it was a grenade. It was Scarlett's toy camera, the one she used to spy on the couch during playtime. The same one she'd accidentally left running the day Olivia sabotaged her. The clip was grainy but clear enough. Olivia Kane slipping into Elena's cubicle, inserting a flash drive, and exiting before anyone noticed. Elena had watched it 10 times. Each time hurt more than the last. She hadn't come for revenge. She came for truth. Across the room, Damien Thorne stood like a monument in black. The skyline glowed behind him, but his expression was darker than ever. Surrounded by board members and press, he looked every bit the powerful, untouchable CEO. Except his eyes kept scanning the crowd, looking for her. And then he saw her. Elena stepped into the light wearing a sleek black dress she'd borrowed from a neighbor and heels she could barely walk in, but she held her head high. Damien's breath caught. She was supposed to hate him. Maybe she still did. But she was here, which meant she had something to say. Their eyes locked. Then Olivia appeared beside him. Elena, Olivia said, feigning surprise. Still crashing parties you weren't invited to? Elena smiled coolly. Well, I do have a talent for interrupting the rich and powerful.
People laughed.
Olivia stiffened. Shall I call security? Olivia added. No need, Damien cut in. She's with me. That stunned everyone, even Elena. But before she could react, Damien stepped forward. Why are you here? She handed him the flash drive.
Play this. Right now.
In front of everyone. Olivia's expression cracked. Damien glanced down at the drive, then at the crowd gathering. Elena. No, she said louder now. You suspended me. You let the world believe I was a thief. You owed me silence. But tonight, I owe myself justice.
His jaw tightened.
He gestured to his assistant. Projector.
Now.
The room went still. Seconds later, the gala screen, meant for business achievements, lit up with grainy footage. The room gasped. Olivia's face appeared, slipping through an unlocked door. Her fingers moved quickly over Elena's laptop. USB inserted. Cursor clicking. Her reflection in the monitor, like a ghost caught red-handed. Pause it, Damien said, voice like thunder. He turned. Olivia Kane, he said, loud enough for every investor, every camera, every rival executive to hear. You're hereby terminated from all Falcon Industries roles. Effective immediately. No. Olivia lunged, voice cracking. That's not. He turned away from her like she was nothing. But he looked at Elena like she was everything. Elena, he began, his voice quieter now. No, she cut in. Not here. Not with apologies rehearsed for headlines. He nodded once, eyes full of storm. I was wrong, he said anyway. And I can't change the moment I doubted you. But I can change every moment after. People watched, wide-eyed. She stepped closer. Why did you trust her so easily? Because I built a world where betrayal felt normal, he said. And you? You were the only real thing in it, and I was too damaged to believe it. Silence. She didn't cry. He didn't beg. But something shifted. Then a tiny voice piped up from the back of the room. Mommy, Scarlett. Standing with Damien's assistant, dressed like a cupcake in tulle. Elena's heart clenched. Baby, what are you doing here? I came to clap when you win. Scarlett beamed. Did you win yet? The whole room melted. Elena knelt, arms open. Scarlett ran into her. Damien knelt too. Scarlett. She looked at him, dead serious. Did you say sorry yet? I'm working on it, he said. She leaned toward him, whispering loudly. Then hug my mommy.
Duh.
Laughter exploded through the room. Elena looked at him, breath catching. I'm not ready, she said honestly.
To forgive.
To forget. I'll wait, Damien replied. As long as it takes. And then, slowly, without flash or spectacle, he reached for her hand.
She didn't pull away.
Elena stood at the window of Damien's penthouse, arms wrapped around herself, as the early morning sun spilled over the skyline. The city buzzed below, unaware that her entire life had just been rewritten, for better and worse. She had cleared her name. She had brought down Olivia. She had survived the scandal. But she still didn't know if she could trust Damien with her heart. Behind her, the door opened. Couldn't sleep either? Damien's voice was quiet. Elena didn't turn. You knew someone else was behind it. So why did it take you so long to believe me? He exhaled, walking slowly toward her. Because I'm a man who's spent his whole life preparing for betrayal. I didn't realize I was living it every day from the people closest to me until you came. Her voice caught. You didn't even hesitate to suspend me. In front of everyone. I know. He stood beside her now, not touching, just there. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life. She turned to face him. Then why did you fight for me after? Because watching you walk away hurt more than losing my entire company ever could. His voice cracked for the first time. And because Scarlett asked me the one question I never asked myself. He looked into her eyes. Do I want a life built on fear and silence? Or one that starts with you? Elena blinked back tears. You don't know how to love someone like me. I'm not polished. I have baggage. I'm complicated. He stepped closer. Then you're the first person in this world who speaks the same language as I do. She searched his eyes. And for the first time there was no armor. No coldness. Just him. Vulnerable. Real. Scarlett's sleepy voice floated from the hallway. Mommy? Is he gonna marry you now? Elena gasped. Scarlett. Damien knelt beside her. You're good at showing up at the perfect time, you know that? Scarlett yawned. You didn't say no. Elena shook her head, overwhelmed. It's not that simple, sweetheart. Damien gently took Elena's hand.
No.
But I'm not asking to make it simple. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. I'm not asking because of pressure. Or guilt. Or because your daughter thinks I'm her bedtime hero, he said softly. I'm asking because the moment you walked into my life, you reminded me what it felt like to need someone, not for power or business, but for home. He opened the box. Inside, a simple diamond ring sparkled like a promise. I'll wait. As long as it takes. But if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life earning your trust. One day at a time. Elena couldn't speak. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Scarlett squealed and jumped in place. Say yes, Mommy. Say yes. Elena looked down at Damien, this man who once stood behind a desk and judged her resume, and now knelt before her, completely undone. She laughed through her tears. You're crazy. I am, he whispered. For you. She reached down and slid the ring onto her finger. Yes, she whispered. Scarlett shrieked, hugging them both. And for the first time in a very long time, Elena felt safe. Epilogue 3 months later. The boardroom was packed. Investors, reporters, staff, all waiting for Falcon's quarterly press conference. But when Damien walked in, he didn't talk about profits. He held Elena's hand as he stepped up to the mic. You've heard a lot about our company, he began. But what matters most isn't who we fire or what we earn. It's who we choose to fight for. He looked at Elena. And I chose her. Cameras flashed. People murmured. Some smiled. Others gasped. But Elena didn't care. Because for the first time ever, her story wasn't just about survival. It was about love. Real, messy, unexpected love. The kind that walks into a boardroom wearing a crayon-stained backpack and asks the most dangerous man in the city, "Can you marry my mommy?" End of story.